Hello, and welcome to this edition of Tax Matters. I'm Arthur Ferdinand, your Fulton County Tax Commissioner. In this edition of Tax Matters, we are going to take a look at the millage rate lawsuit and the implications of the judge's ruling. We're going to also look at the credit card usage for motor vehicles and the due dates for taxes and much more. Joining us next will be Gladys, Bradfield, and Matt Buff. These are two senior administrators in my office. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Tax Matters. I'm your Fulton County Tax Commissioner, Dr. Arthur Ferdinand. Today we are talking with Gladys Bradfield and Matthew Buff. Both are senior administrators in the Tax Commissioner's office. Gladys is responsible for current tax billing, and Matthew is the accountant for the Tax Commissioner's office. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Good to be back.
Let's begin by talking about something that started in 2013, House Bill 604. In that bill, the state delegation decided to limit Fulton County's authority to tax by banning any increase in taxes until 2015, at which time the board would need to have a supermajority. In the meantime, taxes should be frozen. That's what the legislature intended. In 2013, the county took steps to overrule that law and went on to raise the millage rate in South Fulton. Nary a word was said about it. In 2014, when we were about to set the millage rates, we gave an indication back in January that there was going to be a millage rate increase that amounts to 17% on the millage rate of Fulton County. And then in August, the county proceeded to raise the millage rate. At that time, the North Fulton Republicans filed a lawsuit claiming that it was an illegal increase in taxes, and in fact that the legislature had banned any increase in taxes until 2015, notwithstanding what the county did to overrule it. In the meantime, since there was this lawsuit saying that the increase was illegal, many thought that that would stop the tax commission from billing. It did not, because a lawsuit is not a court order to begin with. And so the tax commissioner's office proceeded to run the bills and send out bills. So now, here we are. There was a lawsuit and a ruling by a judge. All Fulton County judges recused themselves, the Superior Court judges, and a judge was flown in from, or driven in, or came from Cobb County, a retired judge who heard the case. Now, Matthew, you talk about what happened in the court.
Well, like you said, we need to make it clear that it's kind of a dispute between the county and the state legislature that filed the lawsuit that passed the law, like you said, back in 2013. Our office obviously doesn't have any play in setting millage rates, so we didn't have any action having to do with that lawsuit, other than the fact that we do tax billings.
That's correct.
So, to the point that we do the tax billings, that's the only reason why we're included in the lawsuit whatsoever. The action that's being litigated is really an action by the Board of Commissioners, of course, against that law that was passed. So in court, that's what the first hearing that we had a few weeks ago was to stop us from billing taxes, which we had already proceeded as usual with getting a certified digest from the State Revenue Commissioner and billing our property taxes for 2014. So that had already taken place. The argument then was more of a home rule, whether the Fulton County Board of Commissioners had that authority to pass a resolution to overrule that local law or not. And in the end, the judge denied the plaintiff's suit to stop us from billing and to bill in a different manner. So we're continuing now, as usual, billing under this millage rate that was set by the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, the increased millage rate, and proceeding as normal.
Okay. The judge used the amendment to the Constitution of 1951, right? And that amendment to the Constitution gave according to our attorneys, gave the legislature the authority to change things administratively, but not in substance, which the increase in taxes were. And so all lawyers argued that the county, that this legislature overstepped its bounds when it prohibited Fulton County from raising the increase. At least that gave a signal that it may not be as simple as the legislature or the delegation thought it was. And so now there would be a hearing on the substance of the law. But in the meantime, it's business as usual for the tax commissioner's office. So the tax bills are out. There is a due date on that bill which should be adhered to and looked at. It's business as usual. So those who don't pay could get liens filed against it, notwithstanding the lawsuit.
Right. Yeah, it's very important, that people realize that despite the lawsuit, despite what some people may think, whether the millage rate is legal or not legal, they need to pay the tax bill in full so that they don't have any other consequences.
That's right. And I would say that this year, because the bills were a little later than usual, and the due date is pushed back by 15 days, we should be very careful, because we have obligations and the governments have obligations that need to be met at the end of the year. So people should pay those taxes as soon as they get those bills. Let's take a break at this point in time, and we'll come back with some more discussion on other items, especially as it relates to the efficiency of the office. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tax Matters. We continue our discussion about the due dates and credit card usage. Gladys, since you are responsible for the billing, talk about the due dates. There are several due dates coming up.
They are. For the City of Atlanta, the property tax due dates is October 15. For the Fulton County, City of Sandy Springs, Mountain Park, Chattahoochee Hills, Johns Creek, the due date is October 31st.
And the due date for solid waste is already gone.
Due date for solid waste is already passed. That was September 15. So those who have not paid their solid waste bills already have started to accrue interest as of the 16th of September.
And from what I understand from the delinquent tax manager, the 30-day notices for intent to file pay have already gone out.
They've gone out and they've started to. People are still paying those. So you still have enough time if there are any discrepancies or you believe there's any discrepancies to give our office a call before that 30-day notice matures.
When does it mature?
I'm not really sure of that date right now, but that date is on that 30-day notice intent to issue a FIFA, and it's right in the top in the middle. So they need to be very conscious of what that date is and read that date and notify our office before.
Okay, I would just also suggest that if a taxpayer is having difficulty paying the solid waste now, for whatever financial reason, they could also pay it online with their credit card.
Absolutely.
And defer any further problems that might come from a lien being attached to the property.
Yes, sir.
And I think taxpayers should understand that when a lien is attached to a property, it could interfere with your credit rating and ranking and your credit number, and therefore costs you more for loans, whether it's a car loan or loan to fix your house, etc. So it would be better to use a credit card and at least get that off the table, even though it might cost you a little more.
Absolutely.
In terms of interest.
Absolutely. There is a convenience fee for using, and I think a lot of people have called and asked about that convenience fee for going online. It is 2.95%, which, actually is a small amount to pay in order to maintain your credit rating and maintain that good credit rating. So if you, the option is to be late and to be subjected to a lien, it would be far better to pay that convenience fee and get those things taken care of.
That is very good advice. Now, let's switch modes a little bit,
Okay.
since we started talking about credit cards, and talk about credit card usage. Recently, at our last show, we announced that we are going to allow the use of credit card at the front counter. We already use credit card online. You can go online and use credit card, and we have done that for quite some time. But the usage at the front counter was a little more problematic in that credit card companies don't allow governments or anybody to add fees on top of the cost of the goods or service. The state of Georgia negotiated with the credit card companies to allow it. So now, very recently, tax commissioners could take credit cards at the front counter at the point of sale and add the fee to the tax bill. The fee is small, much smaller than you'd normally pay with your credit card things. If you're delinquent with credit cards, it's about 2%, 2.35% on this one at the front counter. And so last week, we got those credit card swipers at every one of our satellite offices in front of every cashier. Matt, talk about the usage so far.
It's been a big hit with the taxpayers. Like I say, we just started last week at all 5 of our locations, our 4 service centers and our downtown location, and we did over 1,500 transactions with those credit cards last week alone. And again, this is just for motor vehicles. We haven't gone to property tax yet, but for the motor vehicle people, it's a big advantage, especially at like one of our offices where we don't accept cash. It avoids those taxpayers having to leave the line to go get a money order or a cashier's check and come back and have to get back in line again. They can take care of their business, when they're there the first time. And like I say, over 1,500 people have already taken advantage of it when we haven't even advertised it.
In fact, you were referring to the Greenbrier office where we take no cash.
Correct.
And that office had the highest usage of the credit card as soon as it was introduced in Greenbrier this week.
Yes, it did.
It's the highest grossing usage in that office. So I think that's a good thing for the citizens in that area, in the city of Atlanta, Greenbrier in particular. I hope they take advantage of it. Don't have to wait until payday to go renew your tax now. You don't have to wait until the holiday. You can do it online. You could do it at a point of sale using credit card for the first time.
Yeah, we'd still like to encourage them, if there's just a vehicle renewal, of course, go online. That way you don't have to come actually down to the office, drive, pay for parking at some of the locations. It's the same exact credit card fee that you would pay online that you pay at our front counter.
For motor vehicles.
For motor vehicles. So it's very nominal. And if you do pay online, your decal is sent out within 2 to 3 days. So, and your receipt is sufficient evidence that you have a currently registered vehicle.
So that's really good. Now, continue with the usage of credit cards. Let's switch slightly to e-checks. E-checks. What is the usage for e-checks?
In the past 2 months alone, for property tax is where we take the most e-checks, and that's online, just online. Again, we're not doing anything at the front counter yet with e-checks or with credit cards for property tax, but we've done over 4,000 e-checks, again, online for property tax. And as we stated last show, there is no fee if you use e-check online. So we would definitely encourage taxpayers to go online to our website. They get to pull up their parcel, see a copy of their tax bill, and they can pay it using the e-check with no fee. It's simpler. less costly than actually taking and writing a check out and mailing the check in to us. And then, of course, it saves our staff on having to handle those checks. It saves it from getting lost in the post office or getting misplaced or misapplied.
Now, in that regard, that takes a load off the current tax in that you don't have as many bank checks.
That's correct.
And tell the audience the difference between a bank check and an e-check.
The bank checks are those checks that they basically go through their banking system through an online bank draft or online bank direct process and pay those until to the Fulton County Tax Commissioner. So we were getting those before that was electronically done. We were getting probably 60,000 of those
Bank
a year,
checks.
bank checks. And a lot of times with those bank checks, they fail to have all the information that's needed to properly process those. So it's a lot more convenient for the taxpayers and a lot more secure for the taxpayer to go through our online system, pull up their account and pay it directly into their account online. That really assures them of having their checks properly or their credit card payments properly accredited to their account. With the online bank direct, sometimes some of the numbers are missing or some of the information is not really clear, and so there's
Or no
a lot
coupons.
and there are no coupons. So there's a lot of research that has to be done. So those are not processed as quickly as they are going through our system.
Now, it probably costs them something to have a bank send a bank check. I don't think banks do anything for free. So when you go online and
Mine
request
doesn't,
a bank check,
Yeah.
that bank check has to be printed, then mailed. So I'm pretty sure there's some fee associated with a bank
could
check,
be.
whereas an e-check is totally free.
It's totally free, and like I said, you're going directly to your account and pulling up your account and paying directly to your account, as opposed to having to put something in a memo line that
Yes.
may not come over completely. So
Okay.
sometimes there's a lot of questions with the online bank direct. So it's a little, like I said, it's a lot more secure process, a lot more certain process for the taxpayers to go through our online system, through our website,
And less
pay that.
expensive.
And less expensive because it's absolutely free.
And bank checks could also be lost in the mail, just like any
Yes.
ordinary mail.
Right, and it causes a lot of delays in processing those.
So we are trying to do things to make it more convenient to the taxpayer
Yes.
as we go along.
Yes, and the credit card process is something that the taxpayers have been asking for, so we're really happy and excited to be able to offer that to them so that they can pay their property taxes on time.
Good. Let's switch modes and talk a little bit about the future. Last year, we had the TAVT in lieu of your birthday tax. That has been so successful, although problematic for some tax commissioners, but the kinks have been ironed out so far. It's still complicated for us in terms of the distribution of the monies from TATV. But the state has been emboldened, and now they're going to do the same thing or propose to do the same thing for boats. This is not Fulton County. This is Georgia. The state legislature is contemplating new laws that would apply to boats, the TAVT law applying to boats.
Yes,
So that's new on the horizon for 2015.
right. So that will require you to have a title for your boat in order to pay those taxes.
I just want to make sure that taxpayers know this is not Fulton
Fulton
County
County.
trying to raise taxes.
Absolutely.
This is a state law
Absolutely.
trying to regulate boats a little better than they are now. Let's talk a little bit about the future.
Okay.
We mentioned motor vehicles and the credit cards. Matt, talk about property taxes at the front counter.
Like I say, I don't think it's going to be ready for this year. Next year, we plan on definitely having property tax, credit card, usage availability at our front counter as well. It would probably be the same fee structure that we currently have for the property tax online payment. But for those people that want to come in and actually pay it online, that should be available for them next year. Property taxes bill is a lot higher than a motor vehicle bill, for the most part. So, that usage usually isn't as high as motor vehicle. I think we've been averaging over 100,000 online motor vehicle renewals using credit cards over the past couple of years. We don't expect it to be that kind of volume with property tax, obviously, because those bills are a lot higher, which would cause the fees to be higher as well. But then again, like I say, we got the e-check online that anybody can go and use with no fee, regardless of how much they have to pay. So that option is always still out there.
Well, that has been very helpful. That has been very helpful
Yes,
to Gladys and Matt. Thank you for being on the show. This has been very, very helpful. And we'll keep the taxpayers informed when we have these new other innovations, especially one for property taxes in the future. Thank you both for joining us. When we come back, I'll give you my final thoughts and information on how to contact my office. Stay with us. Thank you for watching our show today. If you still have questions or comments about the millage rate and the lawsuit or any other Fulton County tax-related issue, contact our office. The number is 404-730-6100 or email us at taxmatters@fultoncountyga.gov. That's all the time we have today. We'll see you next time on Tax Matters.